They say in Hollywood that a relationship that lasts longer than a carton of milk is a success. How have you guys managed to keep it together all these years?
We drink a lot of milk. That's a really complicated and very personal question, but we just lust, I guess. Lust, right. But aside from that, nothing. We have we pick fights with each other and behave badly, and just.
I pondered this after seeing the movie, and I have to ask you, are you fearless or absolutely insane?
Probably a little of both, depending on who you talk to.
True Lies, Terminator, The Abyss, Aliens. If you look at the movies that you are known for, one would never think you would take a historical event and fashion such a huge scale drama out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a little unexpected.
Who's hard?
Okay. Oh, that's nice to have that on camera. Oh, so, you know what I really want to ask you first? Did you find the leather belt and the?
Oh my God! So it's just so nuts. I just didn't know what to do. You know, I had to interview myself because I didn't have time to go to an interview. I was making another movie and crazed, and we had to get it out. And
now you know the challenge we face, coming up with good questions.
yeah, and coming up with questions that you can find something out without being offensive.
There was a palpable kind of howl that came out when you first opened your mouth.
Yeah.
Because the voice. Where did you get this voice?
Well, this is these voices and accents and physical attributes are something that I kind of pride myself in.
But it does, John, it does sound like Bill Clinton.
No, but it is a Clinton-esque thing. But in most areas where it is reminiscent. Well, that was one of our favorite days. You're the one that I want. So that brings back that memory.
Excuse me.
All right.
You're laughing about something and you're not telling us what it is.
Well, because you don't see the picture.
There have been some of the events that you have faced down. I know in the 90s, you went out there and barnstormed about cancer. And that takes guts. But you have made that part of your life now.
Yeah, because I think when I initially got breast cancer, one of the rag papers was going to write some horrible, nasty story, making it much more ugly than it was. And I thought, I better just confront this and talk about it openly.
We've all had times when we've been very up and times when we haven't, and where we like to think that there's somebody back there with his hands on our shoulder.
Yes.
Have you experienced that in your life?
It's been important to me to believe that there's something else, and because I like my life more when I believe in that.
The whole notion of having someone fall in love with you or you falling in love with someone else and it not being returned in the same way, I mean, that happens every day. Do you remember a situation where you were on one end or the other?
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened on both ends. It's painful. Either way, it's just painful. And especially when it's someone who's your dear friend and, you don't plan it.
I work my ass off every day to hopefully maintain this life. Because I'm never happier than when I'm making a movie.
In this film, some of the characters are looking for the dream, trying to attain the dream. But in certain instances, they're not even sure what the dream is. And for many of us, that's a problem. That doesn't seem to have ever been a problem for you.
For me, I had a few years there where I really wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. I mean, my first 3 years in college, I was basically failing out of school.
If you hitch your wagon to somebody else's star, figuratively, you don't find out what your star is. That's what happens to her in this film. What's the application for you, or is there one?
I think for me, really, there were two things that really drew me to Claudia, which were kind of the same. The first one is that inner struggle that she's had, I identify with that. I think everybody's had it. I think there isn't a person that hasn't woken up on at least one occasion and thought, am I happy?
Playing off the title, and we have to wrap things up, but playing off the title, looking back, is it sort of all kind of funny now, or
It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. I mean, sometimes I just, I think about my life and like things that I've done and where I've ended up, and it's so weird. Like I just never, if you had met me when I was 16 years old and said, "What do you want to be?" I would never have said this.
I think we first talked 6 years ago,
It was.
and things have just turned around so much in your life.
Yes.
How do you relate to what's going on with Pierce Brosnan now, and put it all in perspective, considering the water under the bridge?
Oh boy. How much time do we have here? It's very hard to kind of sum it all up, but life is good right now. Life is a great celebration.
Pierce, you wanted to do this so much, they wanted you to do it so much. Now that you've got two under your belt, is it everything you had hoped it would be?
Yes, and more.
You all saw it together for the first time.
Yes, which was very, very hard for me. Very
Why is
difficult.
that?
Well, I'm not the greatest at watching myself. I've been known to go into the manager's office and sit until the lights go down and then slip out and go ahead. So you can't very much do that at the Cannes Film Festival.
People who become parents have a different view of the time in which they live, because they're not looking at themselves anymore. They're looking at their child. Have you found yourself becoming that way, looking at the world you live in? Or are you thinking more about what it's like for your kid than, say, just being an adult working in it?
I think Alec and I both, but I think as a mom, I'm very concerned where this world is headed.
But it was so difficult to be a mother and to be with her that I couldn't go back to work for a long time. I felt I had to be with May.
Maybe
You
this
know?
is a dumb question. I don't know. Well, you said there are no dumb questions. I'll try it. You and Brian, before the birth, were two actors, husband and wife, yada yada. Now, part of your definition is May's mom and dad.
That's right.
Has it completely changed your lives?
Well, Brian and I have been together a very, very long time. So our relationship was really, really strong and based on a lot of stuff. I mean, there's certain tribulations that we went through.
Obviously, you wouldn't have done this film.
No.
Will you be more circumspect about taking on other roles in the
Yes.
future?
Yeah. I mean, I think about every single thing I look at, I think, what will May think when she sees this?
It was a 3-week trial. The jury took 2 hours to come back in our favor, which in essence is to say there was nothing here.
Is there an implication for writers and creative people in the future? How do you safeguard against things like that, or can you?
You cannot. There's no way to safeguard it.
So much of what goes on in front of the camera, and what goes on behind the scenes, the very same thing in Washington. What do you think about what's going on now and the sheer irony of the film coming out when it is?
Well, it is bizarre, and I think you hit upon a point, too, that it's only in recent years that we've started to elect our officials by how they appear in front of the camera. And the dark side of that, then, has become what they're doing in private. And can we also see that, please?
Let's say hello to Adrian Brody, who's nominated for The Pianist, and it's got to be an exciting day for you.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's thrilling. It's incredible.
This movie started getting buzz almost a year ago, more than a year ago, when it started out in Cannes. And since then, it's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have imagined that kind of an overwhelmingly positive response.
One story that some people out there may not be familiar with, you actually had to shoot some of the toughest scenes first and lost how many pounds?
30 pounds. We had to shoot in reverse because of the weight loss.
A lot of people talk about this as a precursor to the Oscars, but where the Oscars have members of the Academy, which number between, 6,000 and 8,000, the Screen Actors Guild number in excess of 100,000. So to be nominated for this award, let alone to win it, to be nominated for this means an awful lot of people out there voted for you.
Not only an awful lot of people, but my fellow actors.
In the state of affairs in which we find ourselves, your film also speaks to a greater thing than merely entertainment. And I know that's been something that's been very important to you. How special would it be to you to win for something like that?
Well, I've given it a great deal of thought because the whole experience has changed my life.